When I first asked you if you would sit down with us and chat about the history of the area, you mentioned the library.
Right.
And I got very excited.
Well, there was no
Because
library.
no one has actually spoken to us
Well, there
about
was
their
no
memories of
library?
the library.
Oh, my God.
So,
There
to
was no-
find somebody who suggested it
Okay.
was a thrill for me.
No, there was no library when our house was completed in '69. I think it took it almost a year to build it when we signed the contract in '68, but because there was no street. I chose the piece of property, matter of fact, from a map. There was nothing but scrub oak and scrub pine. And
And this is Bohemia.
in Bohemia,
Okay.
it's behind the high school. And my wife came from Queens. I originally came from the Bronx, but when we were married, we were living in Queens. And when you come from the city, you're used to a library within walking distance, So there was no library in Bohemia, but there was a library at Sayville. It didn't have books of good quality. They were old. I don't know why they didn't buy new books. And there was a library in Patchogue. And somehow my wife found out about the bookmobile. So, do you know about the bookmobile?
We've heard
You
that
heard
there
about
was
the
a bird,
bookmobile?
but
Yeah.
you
Well,
can really
tell us.
enlighten us a
Yes.
Okay. Well, my daughter was 3 years old. My other daughter was 2 years old when we moved here. And believe it or not, at 3 she was starting to read. When I would read her a story, I couldn't skip a word. She said, "No." Okay. Well, that's another story I got to tell you about the library and her. Okay. So anyway, we found out
You
about.
can do the speed-up version of anything.
we found out about
Time.
the bookmobile, and on Church Street, there used to be a lumber yard. On Church, now there's a little development there. They call it cluster zoning of houses, but there used to be, I think it was Benedict's Lumber.
Oh,
Used-
yeah.
Right?
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. There used to be a lumber yard, and it would be Ocean and Church. The bookmobile would stop. I don't know if it was once a week or every 2 weeks, but the bookmobile would stop, and I think the children only limited to 3 books. And that drove my daughter crazy. 3 little books. What's there to read? But
That's why she didn't want you to skip a word.
Right. But there was the bookmobile, and then I don't know when they built. No, they didn't build. First, we had one trailer in the lot where I think the parking lot is, the big lot. We had one trailer, and then we had 2 trailers joined together. And books are pretty heavy, and you would walk on the floor of the trailer, and it would be like you were walking on the ocean, going up and down. So then we had the 2 trailers, and then finally they built the first building. I don't know what year that was. You would probably know.
Yeah, is that 75?
75?
75.
When they built the first building.
Because this is it's in the lobby, we can check later.
Yeah,
But
Right,
it must
in
be
the lobby.
75, because this is our.
Right, because then they added on. They added on the community room, and then they added on the building that we're sitting in right now, the new section.
Right.
So, so we had the what do you call it, the bookmobile. But that was fun. And anyway, well, my daughter, my oldest daughter, she went to school. Reading and writing and knowing her colors and her numbers, and she wanted books that they didn't let her take out. It means that I would have to sign it out, or my wife would have to sign it out, because she had only a children's card.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a lady here. I think her name was Mrs. Feinstein.
Oh, yeah, I've heard
Remember
about
her?
I've heard about her.
Okay,
yeah.
so Mrs. Feinstein had one of the librarians ask her to read a book and interpret the paragraph that she read. And she read the paragraph, she interpreted the paragraph, And then I think she may be one of the only few children. She took her over to the adult desk, and she had a little kitty card signed that she could take on adult books.
She passed the test.
She passed the test.